Yeah, I'm black, I'm not Democrat, need a mega hat. Ooh, they try to take my guns, I can't go like that. Ooh, they try to take our funds, I can't go like that. Ooh, they try to ban our speech, I can't go like that. Yeah, I'm black, I'm not Democrat, need a mega hat. Ooh, they try to take our guns, I can't go like that. Ooh, they try to take our funds, I can't go like that. Ooh, they try to ban our speech, I can't go like that. Yeah, I'm black, need a mega hat. I'm not Democrat, yeah, I'm strapped, they ain't taking that. I'm just talking facts, yeah, yeah. When you
all right, go ahead and invite your friends.
They try to ride on me, but they
Share,
caught a flag.
like,
Look at the
you'll be able to comment tonight. We're getting ready to get into this Trump debate recap. Go ahead and share this with your friends, share it with your friends on whatever platform you're on. Twitter, Periscope, Ustream, wherever you're watching, Facebook. I'm on a lot of different platforms, so we're about to get into this. So go ahead, share. We're getting ready to do a Trump Biden debate recap.
Y'all get hype and hot computers, like to teach you, like to tutor. They out here trying to kill our babies. Don't you know that they our future? They give free abortions, they put us on welfare. Replace our families with checks, and that's gonna make us stay there. Look at our history. Don't you see all that hate there? Look who started the KKK, but they not trying to play fair. Then they say it was a switch so they could change your memory. I was a slave to it too, so I looked at our history. Yeah, I'm black, I'm not Democrat, we the mega hat.
All right, go ahead and invite your friends. We're getting ready to get into this.
Ooh, they try to take our funds, I can't go like that. Ooh, they try to ban our speed, I can't go like that.
Thank you guys for coming on in the room tonight. We definitely appreciate you, because we are the storm. Thank you guys. Thank you. Don't forget to share this with your friends. If you got any comments, questions tonight, just make sure whatever platform you're on, drop your comments, your questions in the description box, and I'll be here as the other guys come on. They'll come on shortly. I've got 3 guests coming on tonight. Good friend Greg Whiteman, also Pastor Eugene Ralph, eventually, and Geoffrey R. Mitchell. Dr. Geoffrey R. Mitchell. He's wrapping up a class, and he should be on shortly. But I wanted to get started on time. I started a couple minutes later than I wanted to, because I was trying to wait for those guys. But we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So I know a lot of you guys watched the debate last night, and just kind of put in the comment box what your thoughts are, what you think happened, what you think Trump should have did differently, what you think Biden should have did differently. If you are a Biden fan, and I know there are some Biden fans watching, feel free to go ahead and put your thoughts in there, your comments, and we will comment and we will interject on what your thoughts and comments are as well. And so we definitely appreciate you coming on. We're not going to turn you away like we would be turned away on a different platform that wasn't a conservative platform. And so this is a conservative platform. That's why I call it courageous conservatism. We are solid conservatives. We are we don't go by the terminology Christian. We are biblical constitutional conservatives. And so that's what we are. That's who we are. Biblical constitutional conservatives, which means we have a biblical foundation. We understand the value of the document that's the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the state of Texas, and what that means and how that parallels with the Bible. And then we're also conservatives. We're conservative in everything we do, but we vote Republican. We are solid conservatives. So understand that not all Republicans are conservatives. So, but we are. I'm going to introduce to you first up, who's already on while we're still waiting on the other guys to chime in. Greg Whiteman. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you guys and just tell you a little bit about himself.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Greg Whiteman, a native Texan. I guess started along the path of conservatism around 1981 or 82, saw what liberal policies did to my father's business, as well as the economy back then. Jimmy Carter's policies, his desire to get along with captives, hostages. We had inflation out the roof. We had long gas lines, and there was kind of a despair in the market, in the economy, and in the overall mood of the country, because all these bad things were going on. We had long lines. If you don't remember, if your license plate ended in a certain number, you could get gas that day, and that was never the America that we dreamed of, or that we aspire. And so, when I was listening last night to the two candidates talk, one was more of I see a dark time coming. The other was more optimistic. And so if you're of a mindset where, the people say I see the things half empty, well, then you agreed with a full type person, and then you do know that better times are ahead, and you shouldn't want to follow someone whose only plan is to tell you how bad it's going to be, and you need to learn how to manage that despair. I'd rather shoot for the moon and maybe fall short than to shoot for the ground and go even less. So that's a little bit of my background, and a little bit of preaching at the same time.
Hey, I appreciate that. That's good. That's good. Somebody else just joined us. Let me see who that is, because they didn't put their name on. Who's that just joined?
It's me, Dr.
Okay, Dr.
Jackson. I'm driving, and I'm trying to get in because I told you I'm a man of my word, and so I'm rolling it while it's midterm time. So my apologies to your listening audience, because I try to be a man of my word, and we black men, and black men keep our word.
Amen, amen. We definitely appreciate that, and I know they appreciate that. I told them it was going to be a few minutes before you got on, but we're so glad you even joining us in the car, especially with midterms and you out here educating the students. So while we are yet and still waiting on Pastor Eugene Ralph to join us, you and I, we talked, and there was a question. So some of the people know who you are, a constitutional professor, a black man, constitutional professor, one of very few of those that are conservative in the country. You're one of 50 or so?
I don't even know if that many, man. I've been conservative since Ronald Reagan. I've come up under William F. Buckley, and so William F. Buckley was a traditional conservative, go all the way back. And sometimes people keep thinking that conservatism, is something that white people do or Republicans do, but it's an idea. And you can have liberal Republicans, and you can have conservative Democrats. It just depends on the region. But I just happen to be coming up in my time, be a very, very conservative brother, and where I stand with my God, where I stand with my country, and where I stand with my family. But there are tenements, and that is being the Constitution. It is the Constitution. And it gets you in trouble. If you know this Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to get you in trouble. And that is it's like holy water to a vampire. Okay. It is, when you understand the Constitution and how it works, because the Constitution has liberated the black man from the white man. It has liberated the woman from the man. It has liberated this from that. But the Constitution gives us the freedom to protect us from our government, especially in these particular times. And it has been in our lives during the Civil War. And it is, if we follow it, we'll find that it'll minimize some of this special thing we are addressing today.
Amen, amen. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So one of the things before we actually dig into last night, I was telling you the question that has come up over and over again, and I keep seeing across all of my streams, is merely that the people are saying that they don't know the difference between a republic and a democracy. So you being the professor, I see you shaking your head over there, Greg. So I would like for the professor before we actually get into this to help people understand the difference between a republic and a democracy, and then explain to them what we are and how that works best for us.
Well, there's a simple thing that I could probably do, and not to mess with this, the listening audience, because I don't want to make anything make y'all feel like y'all don't know. I think you'll get a general idea. These are root words, and demokratos, which is an Athenian word from Athens, Greece, of course. Our root words are, it's not from Confucius, and it's not from Africa, and it's not from Spain, it's not from France, but our roots were from classic Greek and Athens Greek. And an Athenian word, demokratos, means the people's power. Okay. Res Republica means the people's thing. And so in our republic is what we have. We send representatives in a democratic form to represent us in, let's say, the city council, or let's say at the Texas House of Representatives, or the Assembly, as they may call it, or maybe even in the halls of Congress. But we have a forum. The Electoral College, in reality, is a republic form of government to establish for our president of the United States. Everybody will vote for the president, and in whether the votes are counted or not is germane. The issue is will be in the electoral college in December when all of this is over with. That is a republic form as we're using that. In a democratic form, then of course it's the masses. These are classic issues that Jefferson and Thomas Jefferson, yes, that one, and Sally Hemings, that's a whole nother story, that debated about allowing the masses of people to be able to make a decision what was going on in the first Congress at that particular time in the 1787. So I hope I did that. But there's a distinction without a difference, as we try to say.
That's good. That's good. And I believe that helped a lot of people. I haven't seen any comments across any of the platforms just yet where anybody appears to be confused. So, we definitely are glad that, that was shared, because I mean, for me, those are things that I just, in my folly, I assumed that people knew because I knew them.
Well, the
And
only, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
Dr. Jackson, the only way I knew that people did not know that we are under a constitutional republic because you made it known. Now, I teach constitutional in a survey course. A survey course for those, it just teaches our American history from what we say Columbus to 1877, and then the second component teaches 1877 what we say to Obama. All right, and that's just our American history. You can put black history, you can put gay history, you can put whatever women history, but it's really American history. It's really our history. And so sometimes it depends on who's teaching it to y'all. And my job is to teach the family. I call it the family because it's the family history. And
Right.
so that's all it is. It's just our history, as bleak as it may be. But we have a form, a tapestry that keeps us together. And sometimes when we have these um, impulses, as we say, Black Lives Matter, Proud Boys, defunding the police, LGBTQ issues. These are what we call political impulses that happen in our society. And sometimes people want to get in that because that's a trend. LGBTQ, for that's a sexual trend. But in the old days, it was just true. It was just civil rights issue, rights for blacks, rights for women. And in the old days, African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, Native American, and women. Those are the five protected group under the Constitution where we had to make some changes because they were disadvantaged in the early America. That's all that was. Civil liberties deals with gun rights, gay rights, if you want to have rights to pray and worship or these are liberty rights, but the civil rights is a little bit different. And so the Constitution has evolved over time, and sometimes we look at it in our own a sphere, and sometimes that sphere may not be broad. It may just be just on things that you think is advantage to you, whatever your cause is, and that's where it makes it a little bit more complex.
That's good. That's some good stuff. I feel like you helping somebody out there, man.
So, Professor, I do have a
I don't
question,
know. You
Professor.
know, the interesting thing about us, and I think that when I'll let you know, I won't know. You know, although I'm up in age and a little bit, I'm not that, I'm still young. And so until God tell me my journey is over with, because yes, Lord, listen, I am a believer, and I think when my time comes, then I'll know the lives that I've touched in the years that I've lived in this world. And I think sometimes we think we've made it and done it all. We want to name schools after Eddie Bernice Johnson. We want to name it after the statues after all these people. These people haven't done it nothing yet. Obama, don't be naming schools after Obama. Don't be naming schools after Trump. Don't be naming schools after Dr. Mitchell. My journey is not done yet. We got a way to go. We don't know what will happen because people change. And then you name the school after Eddie Bernice Johnson, and then you find out she don't like black people. She ain't never liked us. She always want us to be slaves. She just, you'll find out later on. History is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, out there. Things change
Yes.
all the time. People, wouldn't believe, I've been around long enough where a white man want to be a black man. I've been around when a black man wanted to be a white man. And then I remember when a black man liked a white woman better than he liked a black man. Now we got a black man like want to be a woman. And then the woman want to be a man. And then the kids want to be grown. And the adults want to be kids. I mean, I've been there that long. Odd. Trends, ladies and gentlemen. We have to look at these things maturely because we have an issue in our democracy, in our great republic, in our form of democracy, in order to help young people be a better example. And we're not being the best example for Generation Millennial or Generation Z. And I encourage everyone to be a better example. We have the ability to turn it. We can do it. This is the great cause of our time. And I'm asking
Professor, let me ask you a question.
Yes,
your ability as the person who asked the question.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead. This is a free fall.
So, Professor, talk to me about the Constitution being a living, breathing document. What's your take on that?
What essentially happened is the Constitution of 1787, when they designed it, it was not designed to give black people or women the right to vote. That was not what it was designed to do. And it was designed to do because the preamble itself, because we were 13 colonies in that time. And so they had to add amendments in case, and the 3/5 compromise had nothing to do with the value of black people or the status of women, because this is just 17th century philosophy, and you had to have a stake in society. And so they believed in that particular time, that comes out of classic Greek, comes out of Athens. And so they wanted to create a society that they believed in that time that if you were to be in the government or make policy, you would have to have something to lose. And usually if you were white or male, educated or property owning at that particular time, which was agility, because there were some black people that owned property and that managed certain levels of government, and even Native Americans. The Cherokees was a very rich, flourished community at that particular time. But to make decisions on what was going on and how the government would be structured and who would be in the new Congress, they had to work on that a little bit different. Over time, because of the Missouri Compromise, because Jefferson, whether you like him or not, is going to expand the country in what was called the Louisiana Purchase. Now, I apologize, y'all. I'm driving at the same time, and then I'm free thinking. So as I'm free thinking, and this is poetry. This is your poetry. This is intellectual mosaic, and I'm free thinking at the same time. And so the 3/5 compromise is going to double. The 3/5 compromise was the compromise that had to look at the new Congress and how we would do, how the first Congress would be in terms of representation for the states, and then at the same time, and in the federal government. The Jefferson is going to do something in his time, and in the Louisiana Purchase, he's going to double the size of the country, and so we had to have what is called the Missouri Compromise, and we would not expand slavery beyond, because now the states are looking at how we're going to count people that were property as well as population. And so it got a little bit more complex. And so over time, the Constitution, through the electorate, 14th, 15th, 16th, it evolved. And it evolved from the 13th Amendment, where it by black men like Frederick Douglass and other black men who added amendment, because we only had 10, and the 11th Amendment and the 12th Amendment, the 13th abolished slavery, the 14th gave us equal protection under the law, and the 15th gave us the right to vote. That's evolving from their first 10.
I got you. Let me ask you this. Staying with the Constitution, the branch of the government that is supposed to protect the Constitution, if you will, I would argue is the Supreme Court and the other part of the judiciary. When has the Supreme Court, in your opinion, gone beyond what the Constitution has allowed them to do?
Well, that's a very excellent question. When you look at the development of the Constitution from the Supreme Court, Justice Marshall is the longest. He was the longest served at this particular time, and so there were a lot of things that when we look at the judiciary, it didn't have 9 bodies that would come way later on in the I want to say in the late 18th century. It'd come later on, but it was only maybe 4, about 6. I think it was 6, and then Justice Taney would have a particular ruling, and this particular ruling, what is called the Dred Scott decision, was a key issue regarding citizenship for blacks, and he would give a strong opinion on that blacks were not considered citizens, therefore it caused a lot of particular problems. Now, justice, and then moving about 100 years later, we started looking at problems, and Justice Marshall, Thurgood Marshall, what we call an activist judge. And what he did was he would make decisions, and not just him, which is fine. I mean, it just kind of depends. Sometimes it happens like that. These people that we call them leftists or liberals, they are not stupid people. They just know how to use the law in order to make things that we believe in our particular time make us feel good, because we have certain people to represent our electorate body. And the law itself should be blind. And so when you have people of different sexual orientations or religious beliefs that use that as a key to a lot of their decision, it gets real confusion. And Pastor, I don't know if I answered your question, but I can say that over time, the latest that we've had, I believe, was a case that we had. I want to say Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. Okay, that's a key landmark case, and then there's some others, but it really would have to depend on the judges at that particular time.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, there's Eugene.
Yeah, brother. What's going on?
Oh, Eugene, man, I just got out. They just bailed me out, man. I just got out. I'm trying to get home, man.
What'd you get arrested for, man?
Oh, man, teaching the Constitution.
Huh?
Oh, you want to get out of jail fast? Start teaching the Constitution. Teach the Constitution. Oh, I'm telling you, start talking that Constitution.
They put you out of jail.
I mean, that's just how they get.
That's good.
They don't even like. I'm a faculty member at a prominent university, and they don't like me teach the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, or electrical. I mean, just basic stuff that we just need to know so we can have a little bit of. I'm just trying to keep us in our righteous mind.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, you got a problem anyway because you're a black.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know that. They just because it's when I'm on shows like this with you, Troy, and somebody you listen to will say, "Hey, Dr. John," I said, "Dr. Mitchell, old Troy show," and
Well,
he know that.
It's even worse because you're a black constitutional professor.
Yeah.
So that's probably worse than being a black conservative.
Truth don't set you free. The truth is only setting me free, y'all. I just try to speak it. That's all I. I'm up in age now. Here's the secret, y'all. When you get living long, you start that filter in your mouth. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I ain't got time for all that. Here it is. This is how we gonna do this.
So now that we got everybody on, we're gonna delve right into this, and we're just gonna do it as a free for all. You know, we're not gonna structure it with questions and all of that. And so, but if we get any questions from the audience, I'll throw them out. We don't have any just yet, which is fine. That means they're learning from Professor Mitchell over there.
Okay.
So they're probably taking notes. What'd you say, Eugene?
I'm going to log back on because it seems like my connection is. How do I sound on your end?
Oh, we got you fine. You hear Eugene fine?
Okay.
He's great.
All right, well, I'll go with it. It just sounds kind of grainy on this side, but
Okay.
Sound good. You sound
I
good.
can understand you. I can understand what you're saying. It just sounds a little grainy.
Okay. Yeah. No. We have you clear. So.
Okay.
But if you do want to do that, you feel free, and I'll bring you back into the room.
Okay. All right.
So, Dr. Mitchell, since you got the floor, and I know you driving, so we can just do your audio for now. That's fine. But here's Eugene coming back in already. That was quick. It went out again. So just kind of give us a synopsis or an overview of your thoughts on overall of last night, and even if you want to break it down by area of expertise, you know, from handling of the coronavirus questions and overall to global warming hoax questions, and just
Same time I'm talking, so if I could yield that for just a few minutes, give me about 5
okay,
minutes, and
yeah,
I'll be ready to go. But if we could
okay.
yield it, maybe our other guests, give me a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem. I know you're trying to get into the house real quick, so we'll let Greg kind of lead off on that then.
Well, yeah, thanks again. What I thought was interesting is Joe Biden said something pretty interesting last night about the oil industry, and he's been all over the place as far as whether he's going to frack or not allow fracking. But when you digest it to the transcripts, he pretty much said that he's going to try to end the oil industry, which is what at least an eighth of our economy. You're looking at putting a lot of people out. I think if people listened to what he was saying, he really in try to appease his base, he would really hurt the economy. And I'm hoping that those in the oil patch states caught that. In fact, I heard that a Democratic congressman out of Oklahoma came out against what he said. She said, in fact, I think it was a she who said, "I'm going to continue to fight for the oil and gas industry, even as a Democrat, even if it were a Democratic White House." So I thought that was interesting. And so if people have not already voted, even though most people have, Joe's going to be in trouble with that statement alone.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you about
into that one.
Yeah, I think that quite honestly, I was a little. I can't say I was surprised that he said it. Actually, I was hoping he would say it because he had to appease that left wing of his base, and Joe is at this point demonstrating why all the years that he ran before, why he never could even make it out the gate as far as being a nominee for the Democrat Party. And is a pretty sad commentary when the best that you got out of whatever 20 people or however many it was running is Joe Biden, but he's demonstrating the reason why he should never be in that position. And but I was listening. I listened to what he said, and like I said, I've listened to this guy. Whether or not that's in his heart of hearts, I don't know. At this point, I don't think it's really up to him anyway. It's really probably whoever's pulling the strings. Joe Biden is basically the face that they believe they need on the front of the ticket in order to get Kamala Harris in there to try to advance that radical left-wing agenda. And that's what people have to be mindful of. There's nothing appealing about Kamala Harris. She is probably an emptier suit than Joe is. And that's a sad reality. And it's also a sad demonstration of where our nation finds itself when we have such pathetic choices for a leader, where somebody that would actually go that route. You know, we've gotten to a point here in this country where we thought we'd never be where we actually would have to be debating on whether or not we're going to have a person that's running to be the leader of the country that's going to support socialism or communism. And these people are openly supporting this. And the sad fact is that we have so many dumb people here. And some of them are dumb because they've been victims. Others are dumb because they're dumb by choice. Because, you know, people have offered to show them where they're operating in error, and they refuse to consider what's being said. So you have a lot of dumb people here who are considering going down this socialist road, or they believe that they won't be affected. And you talk to somebody who's from a country that's experienced socialism, they got away from it, and those people will be some of your most rabid capitalists, most rabid free enterprise type people, and they understand what freedom is all about. And we have American citizens here that are absolutely foolish to the point of stupidity. You know, I don't cut people slack when they're willingly stupid. You know, I mean, if somebody's stupid because they is just plain ignorant, that's one thing. When they're willingly stupid, when you offer them information and they turn away from it, no, that's just plain stupidity. I don't have any tolerance for that. And you know, I'll call them out in New York second.
And while I was out with Eugene today, we experienced that today at the poll. So there was a black guy that pulled up with his family, I guess. It was him and a bunch, 3-4 women in the car coming to vote. Eugene know where I'm going. So he gets out, he sees me with my big 4x4 sign talking about, you know, policies in the republic, and he sees me with my Trump flag. And first thing he jumps to is name calling, which is the number one thing that liberals do. He jumps out and he says, "Yeah, that's what you Uncle Toms do." He said, "You've been brainwashed." And I said, "Excuse me, sir, but the mere fact that you believe that I have to think like you means that you are the one that have been brainwashed. The mere fact that you believe that I have to vote like you means that you are the one that has been brainwashed and manipulated."
That's right.
I said, "I am not you, and you are not me. So whatever your reasons are for voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, those are not my reasons." I said, "I have my reasons why I support Donald John Trump. And you have your reasons why you support the racist and the hypocrite." So, and he was very upset and went into his little belligerent rant and went on into the polling place and, you know, came out and kind of gave me a little sideways look. But that's the thing about it. You know, they're not willing to have a decent dialogue. So when I leave Lakeside in Mesquite and I drive over to Garland, to the South Garland Library, I get to the light at 30 and Beltline. Black guy takes the initiative to pull up on the side of me in the Jeep. He said, went to cussing and was like, "I can't believe that you're a black guy with a Trump Pence sticker on the back of your car." He said, he did a Joe Biden on me. He said, "You ain't black." And so I had my window down. I said, "Well, brother, if that makes me black, then I'm not black." I said, last I heard, MLK said that we should be judged by the content of our character and not by the color of our skin. So if you have to be black to vote Democrat, then I guess I'm not that.
No, you should have told him that you're a founding member of the non-black club.
Right. Exactly. I should have had my non-black shirt on.
Hey, man, I ain't been black for the last 6 months. And
that's what
on with your black self.
They really think that they really see us as that monolith that Joe says that we are. And what's even worse is that blacks see us as the monolith. So they think that we have to think like them.
Yeah.
My children don't think like me. My children don't think like you. Because we're all different people.
Right.
And we don't have to think like each other. We don't have to be the same. That we're not required to be that way. God made us all unique. He said he made us in his likeness and in his image. He didn't say he made us all alike.
Nope.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing is that statement Joe Biden made about blacks comparing blacks to Hispanics. There's a certain element of truth to what he was saying, although it was derogatory. It was more or less a derogatory statement, but you know, he's too stupid to realize that.
Right.
But the truth of what he was saying was that because the vast majority of the black community votes one way, when you have 90+% of a segment of a demographic that goes in one direction politically, and all the time don't even give any thought to it, why should you work for it? You know, the Hispanics, you have to work for that, because the ones who actually do vote, they're going to think about it and they're going to make a decision. You know, it was interesting because at the polls today, you know, the Hispanic guy, he went in, he voted, he came back out, and we started talking. He's a straight Republican, and and so just the things he was bringing up to me was the kind of things that we share with people, trying to help them, gain understanding. And he was in shock that I understood everything he was telling me. And now I was able to share some things with him that he hadn't even heard about. And he was like, man, we gotta get in touch. I'm saying, that's what I'm talking about. So, we find these allies out there. And it was actually pretty interesting today because of the number of Hispanics and blacks were coming in the polls that would not take the Democrats' literature.
Yes.
Right. And
That's
they would
interesting.
some of them would take ours, but they were shunning the Democrats. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe it might be something to this poll and stuff, because
That's it. And I had tons of, just to piggyback on Eugene real quick, I had tons of blacks and Hispanics coming over to me while I'm waving my flag. Some of them hiding there because they don't want anybody to see them giving me a thumbs up. But they
right.
support what we're doing.
And they're giving them little sneaky thumbs up.
Right.
Hey, look, I'll take that. I understand. It takes them. They got to get there, Hey,
right.
But we here to help them. We here to help them bring
exactly
all the way across the tracks.
We are bringing them over to the right side of the tracks and helping them understand what they need to be doing. And I'm out there. I'm sharing copies of the Platinum Plan with the blacks, so that they can see Trump's Platinum Plan.
Matter of fact, I gave it to that lady when she came out.
Yeah, and she came up to me in the car. She said, "Thank you for this. I've never seen."
Oh, she called you? Okay.
Yeah, she called me as I was loading up to go to the other location.
Right.
She said, "Thank you for this." She said, I saw you handing them to other people, but you didn't offer me one when I went in. And so, but I totally understand. I understand where they're coming from. And so the new voters that were coming in, first-time voters, many of these first-time voters, and these first-time voters, I'm giving them copies of that from not from My Faith Votes, from one of my other organizations. I can't remember which one, but I'm giving them copies of the distinction between the Republican Party platform, the Libertarian Party platform, as well as the Democrat Party platform. And I'm telling them, you're new voters. Do your research. Don't just vote a certain way because people are telling you this is how you vote. Understand the platforms. Vote in accordance with where your values are. I said, I'm not saying that your values line up with me and where I am in the Republican Party. You might be more of a libertarian. Vote libertarian. You might be one of those socialist progressive leftists. Then you vote with the Democrats. But understand who you're voting for and why you're voting for them. And don't just vote for them because somebody said you should vote for them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's really the large part of it. If people actually made informed and educated decisions, things would be a lot better because at least they'd know why they're doing it. Not only that, they'd probably figure out a way if they didn't, they'd figure out a way to hold their people accountable once they actually elect them, and that's so important as well.
Definitely, I agree. And I know we went off on a whole lot of stuff right there, but these are things that people need to know when they're going to the polls. And so, and I know our main focus tonight is the Trump-Biden debate. What are some other thoughts that you have on that debate from last night, Eugene?
Okay, well, in general, I thought the debate was much better than the first one. In part because the moderator did a better job, although she did irritate me with the number of times she interrupted Trump versus Biden. But I thought he did a really good job of explaining some things some of these things that actually Biden threw at him. And I thought he did a really good job of explaining things like his bank account that they accused him of having in China. The fact that they try to say he didn't pay any taxes, and he comes back and he says, well, Robert Mueller and 18 mean Democrats spent $48 million investigating me, trying to impeach me. You'd think if I'd had anything that was wrong, they would have definitely found something. And I thought that was priceless because that takes away all the argument. You cannot possibly in your right mind believe that there was something that they could have found on this guy if it was there to find it. It's just amazing. Actually, I don't know anybody that could that could actually get away with that they couldn't find anything on him. So that and of course I like the way he called him out on the whole Ukraine thing, where you accused me of I had a conversation with a guy and you accused me of doing something dirty, and here it is, your entire family is more or less a crime family. I mean, you're a corrupt politician, and then he did a good job of painting himself as people understood him to be as an outsider. Yes. You're the corrupt politician. I'm the businessman that came up to clean up the mess that you spent your entire life here making. So I thought that was real good because I try to look at it from a person who's not, without a bias. I mean, it's not easy. But looking at it from the perspective of someone who might be watching, who might lean a little bit more to the Democrats, but might say, let me see if I can consider this guy. And I think if somebody was actually listening and watching objectively, they would likely be coming out in Trump's favor. At a minimum, it would cause them to say, maybe I need to do a little bit more research before I cast this vote. And that's what we ask. Do you do your research? This whole thing about who's a racist and all this kind of stuff. Look, I mean, I realize that people get that caught up in the emotions, but the bottom line is this. If a man is a racist and his policies benefit me, then it's irrelevant whether or not he's a racist, because I'm looking at whose policies benefit me the most, okay? His personal feelings or whether or not he's a racist is irrelevant at that point. But, if somebody really wants to take all that into account, I just ask the question. You look at the things Donald Trump has done as far as the Black community many times for the first time ever. Racists don't do those kind of things, and he has no reason to do it unless he truly cares, unless he truly wants you to benefit. Because knowing what I know about policy, these are not little things that, what you call it, the sugar-coated stuff where it looks good on the outside, but there's nothing to it. These are things with substance. When you look at the policies and how deep they run, these have long-term positive implications for the Black community. That's the reason why you have these rappers out here, which I find to be amazing. Talking about voting Republican. It's like, 50 Cent say, look, I don't want to be 20 Cent.
Yeah, he said, I don't want to be 20 Cent.
I thought that was priceless. They did that on the New York Post, man. I said, I gotta find that one and put it all over my social media pages. That was beautiful. I mean, and I'm not a 50 Cent fan, but I just had to give the man credit for being honest,
Yeah. And having the insight and the wherewithal to know that he could lose some of his fan base by coming out and speaking what is true, what I believe is the truth, but also what's true to him. What I also find interesting is that a lot of times there's certain sects of people that will vote personality and say policy is not important. Well, that personality will be gone in 4 or 8 years as a president, but his policies live on. And if the policies benefit you more so in the long run, even if he's a racist, than someone who says he's not a racist, but puts forth policies that have been proven to be racist.
Right.
I would rather go with the guy who may be a racist, but his policies allow me better education for my kids, safer communities, better economic opportunities than opportunities that the other party has put forth that has education in a mess. When President Barack was when he was in office, the highest unemployment rate for teenagers, I think it was like 17%, which is ridiculous. But he was a cool president. People say he was the best president ever, but they can't say that by policy. He was just cool. The media never lambasted him about anything, so he was cool. But his policies and Joe Biden, they did harm to our community. And in fact, if you look at the policies, he did more for the LGBTQ community than he did for the African American race.
That's true. That's true.
From a policy standpoint.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. As a
matter
of fact,
it's cool to stand out on side of the White House and smoke cigarettes.
Say it again.
It's cool to stand out on side of the White House and smoke cigarettes.
Oh boy.
We're promoting tobacco use. Hey, that's how we're gonna keep the Affordable Care Act thing going. You know, we gotta have people that are gonna be partakers. So you get smoking, you got lung cancer, now you need to use that Affordable Care insurance because you've been smoking.
I think that it is good that my brothers are making light of a lot of this particular things that we go on, and Greg offered a great point when he talked about policy, and I know that sometimes maybe somewhere in time we've made our brothers and sisters think that they are victims of them who they are. It's really survivors when we learn our history. Overcomers. We're not survivors, we're overcomers. And so we're descendants of something. And so we've been, our history has been curtailed by people who want to identify who we want to be. And yes, when we do look at Black Americans as well as Blacks across the globe, you'll really see that whenever we are involved in different things, we do take it to another level. And I think Democrats see the power in that. I tell a lot of people it's really not the room is the suburban white woman that's going to make the difference in the election. That's not really true. It's Black people going to do that. And Black people, the American Revolution was Black people, Black men at the War of 1812, Black people at the Civil War, Black people. Really, it's us, y'all. And so they know.
Let me. I'm sorry to interrupt, Professor. Black people determined the last election. A million of them fewer voted for Hillary than voted for Barack. If they had voted, if that million, Hillary would have been president. So to your point, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to your point,
you do.
It was Black people that determined the last election. What suburban housewife?
Yeah. They kind of know that the signal. They know that's why they're pushing a hard program on African American people from Dr. Frederick Haynes with BLM and celebrities from Hollywood. We usually call it the 10-10-80. It's 10% objective, 10% conservative, and 80% liberal in the media. And usually the Hollywood is Hollywood education, and it's Hollywood education, and then it's the media, which are the big, and in the tech industry are the strongest in terms of fomenting their liberal doctrine against our conservative ideas, and so that. But ours is talk radio. We have other means of how we kind of reach our audience and how we thanks to what Dr. Jackson is doing, and Eugene is out there on the front lines, and I know Greg, you doing your thing, and I'm trying to do our thing. But really, 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 it's just not everybody is easy. It's hard to come out of that collective, and so I think when people been in that kind of environment for so long, and that's all they ever know, it's really, really hard to bring them out of what it is really is to be free. It's scary to be free, to own stuff, be a free thinking man or person. It really is, and some people don't want that, and they want somebody to tell them what to do. Not everybody does. Yeah.
But before you guys got on the call,
they look at their own despotism. Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Got this little delay, and so I thought you were at a stopping point. But you go ahead and finish.
Yeah, we use our despotism. I think Eugene told me him coming out of Louisiana one time, out of I think it was New Orleans, and I think he's a Katrina refugee from that era, and that was the mishap on that the government over there at that time, and we blessed to have Eugene here, and it's bad that he went through that. Troy goes through.
Hold on, I'm a Katrina evacuee. I didn't stay. I wasn't a refugee. Okay. No, I had sense enough to leave before the storm got there.
I'm trying to get right. You did.
We caravanned our butts on out of there. Okay. No, the storm happened after I left. That's a little different. I was not picked up off the roof or flown over in the helicopter.
Yes, sir.
No. You see, the word is a wise man sees the storm coming and he moves.
Yeah, I tell you, my apologies, not review. He's back in Katrina. I'm
speaking to a professor. I want to make sure that terminology is
we glad he's here. I'm just glad he stayed. I hope not. Now, I just hope he's not, bringing out that.
No, bro. Look, I was here for 15
bringing that stuff here. I hope he's
around.
A Cowboy fan. I think he's a Cowboy fan.
No. Well, somewhat. But I was just saying, I looked around for 15 minutes, man. When I got here, I was like, I don't want to go
back. hey, I got a question. I got a question for everybody. I missed all the conversation prior to the debate with that Hunter Biden colleague. He had a press conference prior to the debate, and I guess he went to Congress today. What happened, and what's your take on that?
Okay. Oh, you asking me?
All of us.
Okay. Okay. Well, basically, what I saw the replay of the press conference, and so he was someone who they were going to do some kind of a business deal. This is in 2017, after he had, Biden had gotten out of the White House, and it was going to be some kind of business deal with one of those Russian former colony type countries, and Hunter Biden was setting it up. And when it seems to me, long story short, it seems to me that he got involved with it, but at some point he backed out of it because he didn't like the way it was kind of playing out. It looked like it was a little bit too much corruption for his taste, and he was like, if this thing goes south, I'm gonna end up in jail. So what he did was, I guess, to protect himself, he kept all of the correspondence, 3 cell phones, computer records, all the electronic records. He turned that over not to the FBI or the Department of Injustice. He turned it over to the Senate committee that's hearing it. So the guys who are actually going after Biden right now, he turned it over to those guys today. Yes. And I think they probably had a hearing on Capitol Hill, but I wasn't privy to that because I was out all day.
Okay.
Eugene, so
So we do a little bit of homework over the weekend. I'm quite sure it'll be quite entertaining.
I would love to hear the professor's take on that.
Well, I wanted to do the debate. I wanted to do the debate, get that out because I think that was what you were asking.
I know we get
Firsthand.
into a lot of different things. Go ahead. We
Well, I
go back
wanted to
to
get that one out of the way because the debate is key on how measured the president was and the issue that he talked about his 47 years of tenure. And the thing that in this listening audience, okay, if we know that the man is on it, because unless you just not been around a while, but Donald John Trump has been been a very key part of everything that's been going on in our society for a long, long time. And so, but this is the first time he actually was president of the United States and what he's done in 4 years. For him to be able to talk and because he knows these people, he's worked with these people on Capitol Hill, and for him to be able to address the issue and ask him, why you didn't do this in 47 years and why do you do it in 4 years? These are just questions. He said, there you go, sound like another politician.
Right.
Have as a culture, have we got used to people? We think that politics is an art, y'all. But stop
It is.
trying to find ministers in politics. It's a dirty business. It's a tough business. Okay. However, it's our values, and I
Right.
think that's what we talk about. If
Right.
you value religion, if you value the sense of life, if you value the rule of law, if you value, this is what we're talking about, family, you value those things, and it's a value system. And y'all know, then it probably would be probably a challenge to be part of what we're talking about. And then so, but what Eugene was saying, I didn't get a chance to catch a lot of. I was in lecturing at the time, so I didn't get a chance to catch it all. But I heard about when he was on the Hill, and so I didn't get a chance to catch it on my homework. So I can't intelligent to respond to that particular part, Troy.
Okay.
In reference to the debate, I think that one of the things Trump brought out, he dealt with the school choice issue about the fact that if you have a conversation with any parent, I would say most parents, regardless to demographic, and you explain to them what school choice is, the vast majority of those parents support the idea. And so he's making this play to the minority communities, talking about the school choice issue, helping people understand how important this is, how it can benefit your family. I thought that was actually really good because Democrats have demagogued that issue for many years, primarily as a Republican issue. But once you take the parties out of it and just talk about the issue itself, the vast majority of minorities actually support that idea. He's talked about the fact about healthcare. So basically, got rid of all that foolishness. Democrats constantly talking about, oh, you're going to lose your health care. And he did his best with the time limit he had to explain to the country, that I have a better plan. We want to get rid of this Obamacare plan completely. We want to replace it with something better, but we're going to make sure that we don't lose the protections for people with pre-existing conditions. One of the things, that I tell people that they're not aware of, that I learned about the Obamacare plan has in it, and it's still there. A lot of people don't realize this. There's a tax in Obamacare health plan, a real estate tax, that if you sell your house, 2% of whatever you sell your house for goes to the federal government. That's the first time in history that ever has happened. You've never paid a real estate tax to the federal government. And they're getting to the point where they're forcing, this is kind of like one of those incremental things where they want to force you at some point, if you're going to get a federally backed loan to buy a house, purchasing, the owner has to fix all kinds of stuff before they can sell the house. Most of the time people selling their house, they're selling the house as is because they can't afford to fix a bunch of stuff. They just need to take the money out and go do something else, right? But no, they got it all jacked up where you might have to spend 50 grand on your house to bring it up to some kind of stupid green energy policy code. So these are things that's in the Obamacare bill that lingers around. That's the reason why Obamacare in and of itself has to be stripped completely out. Okay. Another thing he brought up was taxes. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand this, but, you know, we have to understand, first of all, you talk to anybody that's being honest, they don't want to pay any more taxes. You know, I don't care who they are, right? So they like to blame, you know, people who have a lot of money about trying to take advantage of tax policy. Well, the reality is, if you had something you wanted to keep, trust me, I don't care how rich or how poor somebody is, nobody wants to pay more taxes, more than they absolutely have to. And most people don't even want to pay the ones they're supposed to pay. He didn't get into the Second Amendment that much last night, but the reality is the Second Amendment is the only reason why all the rest of that stuff even exists, because the bottom line is the founders understood that you have to have something to back up anyone who wants to violate your rights, right? One of the things he talked, I don't know if he talked about this last night or not, but I know he's been talking about it a lot. And this is a big difference between him and Joe Biden, is your protection, your First Amendment protections, right? Your right to assemble, your right to come together is in worship, you know, which is key element, you know, for people want to come together. You got to, in all the churches, many of the churches closed. So, you know, your religious liberty. And one of the things I think he talked a little bit about this last night, because I haven't watched it. I have not watched this for a second time, so it's not locked in yet. But technology and privacy rights. He didn't get into the privacy rights aspect of it, but he did mention big tech. And Google, Facebook, Amazon, these companies, believe it or not, Amazon is moving into technology, and they're doing it on purpose. And so these three companies, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and also Twitter, these companies have a tremendous amount of influence in as far as things happening, the shaping of the public discussion in the world. And that is not the way it's supposed to be. So
Right.
one or two things will have to happen. Either they're going to have to be broken up, which I would totally support that, because I really don't want the government writing a whole bunch of regulations. I'd rather they be broken up and force these people who own them to sell off a lot of stuff so it's owned by different people, so you have more competition, which will make them more customer service friendly. But something's going to have to be done about that. And one of the things he also talked about was trade policy. You know, there's something that a lot of people kind of that goes over their head when they hear to talk trade policy. Let me just put it to you in simple form, simple understanding. Here in America, in 2005, there was something passed, because, you know, they passed NAFTA in 94. 2005, they passed CAFTA, the Central American Free Trade Agreement. And with CAFTA put limits on it, put all kinds of restrictions on the American producers of like agriculture, as far as shipping it out, right? We got no benefit, but all the benefit went to the Central Americans. Everything they sent in here came in tax-free. Everything we sent it out got tariffs on it, whatever. For so many years, to give them a chance to catch up. You tell me who in their right mind goes and builds up their own competition? People don't do that. It's not common sense. Secondly, if you love your country, if you love your nation, why would you put your own nation at a disadvantage for another nation? That's what I'm talking about. This is the big issue here. And for people who are, I don't care, you can call me a xenophobe, you can call me any kind of name you want, and I will call you a traitor, which is what you deserve to be called, if you do not stand up and fight for your own nation, in spite of all its problems, whatever you think it is. If you don't want to stand up and fight for your own nation, you don't even deserve to be here. Go to that place you think is better. Matter of fact, we'll raise money to send you there, but you got to go.
Well, especially for, you know, if you run for office, part of that is that you take an oath, especially on the federal side, you take an oath to protect the Constitution.
That's right.
And, you know, you get these people who are globalists.
Protect and defend.
Yeah, and in fact, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was once asked, you know, her favorite constitution. I think it was France, and she said she often goes to whatever that was in order to bring in her decisions if she didn't like what was in the Constitution. That was underlying what she was saying. And so you've got these people who, you know, they jet around the world, I guess, and they trying to have countries without borders, apparently, and they didn't take their oath seriously. They had an agenda going in, or developed an agenda after the fact. But it's impossible, if you are, again, and I said again, if you are an elected official, you were sworn in to protect this Constitution and to govern what's best for this country. But the effects of certain laws, when here, typically tried in Europe or some other country, so they know the effects of certain laws. I mean, they knew what the effect of welfare would have on our Black community. There was not it was a social experiment with the end result already in mind. So
Right.
these people, and that's why these liberal policies, they have not worked, they will not work, and we cannot continue to vote in people and or policies that have been tried and true, gone down the socialist road, and it's destroyed everything that they've touched. I mean, look at these cities that, and I know President Trump has said it, but we've been saying it longer. All of these Democrat-run cities and states where there hasn't been a Republican in there for decades. Would you leave where you leave right now? In fact, Eugene would have, if he had gone to Baltimore or Detroit, he'd be back in New Orleans right now.
You got that right. Well, first of all, here's the deal, man. You don't have to worry about that. I wasn't going that far north, okay? I was trying to go somewhere where I could easily drive back to. I didn't expect to go somewhere and stay, just first of all. I expected to just leave, get out of the way of the storm, and go back home. So, I was normally trying to go somewhere where it would be 4 or 5 hour drive, maybe 6. Honestly, I'd never been to Dallas before. This was something new to me. I was in Shreveport. That's how I got here. I was in Shreveport. And when my job told me I can go somewhere and find work, I said, okay, I'll go to Dallas. I've never been there before. I'm going to see what it's like. It's nice and big. Shouldn't have any problem. So, yeah, but it was a good move. That was the Lord obviously let me here because everything else worked. Everything except my job worked out better than I ever expected. Met some great people. And trust me, I go back to visit New Orleans. And a lot of times when I go back after about a week, I'm running out of there, man. I almost want to cry.
I think when we look at that, and I think, gentlemen, when we look at the underbellies of our society, I think what has been very successful for the Democratic and liberal agenda is they've been able to resurrect the underbellies of our.
Froze on us.
You froze.
You froze on us, Dr. Mitchell.
It was going to be good too. I could tell. Anytime somebody starts with underbelly.
Okay,
and so we will always have a society. You back? Am I back?
Yeah. Can you start first? Because you froze on us.
Oh man, that was good, man. I was on it too, man.
Rather said.
Well, I was talking about they've been successful.
You froze.
So I froze again. Okay, testing 1, 2. Am I back? All right.
Yeah, you back.
I said what was most successful about their particular movement, especially after the Judge Floyd, and I appreciate people if you want to see that whole video and how it all happened. But essentially, it was pretty unique how they were able to rise the underbelly of our society. And we'll always have that. Obviously, in this particular group of individuals that we're talking about today, we're not those people. Okay. I think that I've had a menagerie of questions from different people who embody, and these are Black people, what's going on. And I got that they got problems with the history of the police department or the history of the Confederacy, or even some of the spirited words that President Donald John Trump had said. But I said, but the issue is, what are we doing? Why are we sitting here and letting these sort of people just tear down the country? It's not right to fight the police. We know that. We know it's not right to do some of the things, and we're the ones in charge. We're up there. There's just no way I would have known in a generation that precedes us would sit here and put up with the foolishness that we're putting up today.
Right.
Right.
And so in reality, it's really us. It's our turn. And so what makes these kind of things happen is there will always be a segment of our society that's for some particular reason, they just don't like the country. They ain't gonna ever like the police. They're not gonna be believers. They're not gonna want law and order. They just want chaos and destruction and pandemonium.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come out of our communities. And then sometimes we just have to sit up and say, no, that's not right. This is where we at today. Okay. And so and that's hopefully what I can do is at least on my end, because Troy knows what I'm not, Dr. Jackson knows I'm not uh, uh, um, opining issues on public policy to some young leaders. But I'm out there on the front lines, really trying to teach people that empower them. We're not victims. We're
Right.
victims of something.
Right.
And if you've been through some things around here, y'all, they just got it better. They do it better at appealing to our victimization.
Yeah.
And we need to do better and saying that's not who we are. That's not what we're about. Everybody victimized by something. It's how we use it as something to make us strong. And that's where I was with, I was talking about Eugene and what was happening and him coming here, and we've been blessed by him through his travesty. He has made something of that, and it made him strong. For 50 Cent, shot 9 times. I don't know what's like being shot 9 times. When you endure that kind of trauma, what you gotta be scared of? Ice Cube, I believe the brother's name, because these young dudes. I remember them young dudes when they like 20, and when I like 25, but they like 19.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense for those cats because they've already experienced whatever bad, hard time they're gonna spend with the law, with black people. Usually, y'all, those are the people typically are best testament of how to get through things.
Right.
Then these other folks say, this would happen to me, this would happen to me. And they know how to pick these people. And it's strategic when they do that. That's why we need to be better in how we push our message to other people out there.
So I got a lyrical.
So on that. So I don't know if you wanted to address another policy with me.
No problem. I got a lyrical that has a question. He says Trump killed the farming industry. What are you talking about?
Killed the what?
He said Trump killed the farming industry. What are you talking about? His name Ernest Hargrave.
I got a question for you. Did anybody not eat today? I was curious.
No, actually, we ate quite well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, okay. I don't know. Okay. I'm not going to pick on you listeners. Okay.
No,
okay.
that's fine.
It would be very challenging for a president to destroy an industry. The farm, we came up on the agricultural industry. Okay. The agricultural, sir, is really what it's called. Is really not an industry that we do that, but really we're more technical. We've evolved to a more technological society. Farming is a little outdated for us because we're in the information age. Now because we do have a farming community, and we need to we feed many people across the globe. We have subsidized a lot of the farming industry for a long time because we don't, from the corn, I think corn for our fuel, because we're still fossil fuel people and we still use that. I think Eugene or Greg, y'all might get me, even you, Troy, because we still use that corn that goes into our car, but that's a subsidy. So there may be certain aspects of the farming industry, and you'll need to help me with that one, sir. What part do you think that he quote unquote killed? Because that may be a component that we really don't use a lot, and he may defund portions of it, but not quote unquote killed it. And I need a little bit more information on it.
Yeah.
We're not going. We're always going to keep our.
That's defunded the subsidy,
yes, sir.
not the industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends,
So
because real vague. It was very vague,
Right.
yeah,
Dr.
well,
Jackson.
that's one of the downsides of questions that are typed in versus questions that are called in. But if I was mentioning trade policy earlier, and I'm thinking
Ah,
that he's
okay.
probably talking in regard to trade. So when it comes to the farming industry, if this is what he's relating it to, being talking
Okay.
about trade, yeah, the farmers suffered as a result of the tariffs that Trump put on China, right? But that's because, and I encourage you, if you want to type another question in regard to what I'm saying, that'll be fine. I encourage you to do a little bit of research because basically we made a bad trade deal with China back in, I think it was 2000, right? Yeah, 2000. I think it was the last year of the Clinton administration. We gave what we call permanent normal trade relations to China, PNTR. And prior to that, every year China had to come to the World Trade Organization and get what they call most favorite trade nation status. And they didn't want to do that anymore. And there was a lot of sellouts on our side as far as Americans are concerned. Big business people that thought it was to their advantage to have China go and move all this stuff from Mexico as a result of NAFTA to China because they get cheaper labor over there. The reason why all of a sudden everything, that major shift took place, and they took all our manufacturing over there. A lot of it, not all of it. But in regard to trade, look, first of all, China is a communist country. Okay. Secondly, with a communist country, you don't have things in place as far as laws to make sure that regulations are followed properly, and so you don't have certain infrastructure in place. You can't enforce things where they're supposed to be enforced. So I honestly do not want to eat food from China. You're taking a chance when you buy goods from China. Many people complain about the cheap goods from China and how they're not very well made, those type of things. You really want to get your food from China? So what Trump did, in order to try to balance this try to get this trade imbalance corrected, he said, China, I need you to take the tariffs off the goods we're shipping you, since we don't have any tariffs on the goods you're shipping us. China didn't want to do that. He said, well, if you don't do that, I'm going to put a 25% tariffs on everything coming over here from you. And that's what he did. So when he did that, that caused China to buy less from us. So naturally, our farmers were hurt. But the money, a portion of the money that came in, he gave the money to the farmers in order to compensate for the fact that they were losing money, right? I'm not saying it's made them whole, but it's a whole lot better than it would have been had he not done anything. So you got to think about it. The question is, he's looking at this, we have to suffer right now to make things better in the long term. And that's another reason why so many people in the deep state are against this guy, because he's totally destroying all that bogus, fraudulent infrastructure that they've been putting in place for the last 25 years. He's coming in screwing this thing up big time. He's putting things back the way it's supposed to be. Listen carefully when Trump says America first. Look, it was a time you could go back, not very far in history, go back 30 years. Everybody said America first. If you didn't say America first, they ran you out of the room. We got people around here just taking this position like we ought to be second fiddle to somebody. I'm like, if you think Americans should be second fiddle to somebody, you're in the wrong country. You need to go wherever you think you need to be first. Every country, every person who's a patriot of the country they belong to believe their country should be first. There's something wrong with you if you don't think that about your country. And that's what I'm telling you. Get your head on straight, fool.
I think Eugene is an excellent point. Usually, what Eugene is saying, I think Eugene would be a great. He has a great articulation in pontificating economic issues, and he has a great, especially microeconomics. The other thing that he talked about, because if they're really listening, he did a very, very good job in really, really explaining, just how we work, and in essence in the farmer community, and what's in our best interest. I think that it takes about a generation, and the 27.2 years is a generation. Okay, so they're not totally ignorant to how they do that. They know it would probably been a little different for people like Dr. Jackson and Greg and Eugene and myself to really, because we remember when we were understanding what America is and who we are. There would be no debate about that. I think we walked about past statues, but the burning of the flag, the supporting of Kaepernick, the issue in terms of our faith and what our identity, our American identity, is the greatest threat that we have, that we're seeing today, and that uses the young people. What is it to be an American? And I think we've done a poor job in explaining that part and help people understand. No, this is just an American thing. We may be African, they may be Mexican, they may be whatever hyphen. There's a book that came out, and I think it's called Separated by a Hyphen, when I was in my 20s. And that book essentially addressed was the first stages of us not being American, but we want to be recognized by our quote unquote Nubian, we be African American, and we need African American per se, from Negro to Black to whatever the thing that was thrown upon us, because we did not assimilate into the culture. We were immigrated but didn't assimilate, and so we have had a psychology issue that since the 20th century, in terms of since Booker T. Washington and Dr. Du Bois wanted to deal with the Black since we've been freed. That has been the greatest threat in terms of what to do with us and how we can be really part of the fabric of our society. And I think that's where they've been very successful in helping divide us psychologically.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, you got to keep it. Who's that? Okay. Oh, I thought somebody was saying something.
Oh no, Eugene. That might be Dr. Mitchell might have his volume up on his phone.
Okay. Okay. So the point I wanted to make in regards to what you're saying, Dr. Mitchell, is that if you go back, I would say if you go back as far as about the 40s or the 50s, and you look at when segregation was completely in place for Black people, or for minorities, period, but specifically Black people, and you see how we did among ourselves, and then you watch what took place as a result of integration, and that was a process. So integration took place over the course of, say, 25. When I say over a period, I mean accepted integration. In other words, integration was instituted into law roughly around the 60s, early 60s, but it wasn't accepted until probably, I would say, began to be accepted more in the 80s. And when you move into the 90s, now you got more and more acceptance, and some of them old heads dying out. And so some of those attitudes were beginning to fade.
Eugene is doing a good job for people. In 1948, first, I want to say Mendez versus, but that's first one before their precedes Brown Boys Board of Education in 1954.
Right.
Which because it used to take about 20 years or so for really everybody to get caught up with some of the policies of the federal government. Real good, Gene. Real good.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And what I'm telling you is basically what I've seen based on my own observation for the most part. So what I'm saying is that by the time we got to the 90s, you began to really see it fade out. And then when we got around the end of the 90s, during the Clinton administration, because of an incident happened right here in Texas, when those two rednecks dragged that Black man behind their truck, and that dude, to the point where that dude's head fell off, they used that to reignite all of that racial tension that was beginning to die out. And basically, you had the church burning, and nobody still to this day can tell us who was actually setting these churches on fire. Okay. And I think most of them were Black churches were being burned, but some of them weren't Black churches. The bottom line is this: the Democrats realized at that point that the best way to try to negate the success that was being made by the Republicans, who was being led at that time by the Gingrich guys, because they were making a case to Black people about why you should be you already conservative, why you should be a Republican, and it was working. And because of some of the policies, the Reagan administration fiscal policies, it was working, and they had to figure out a way to kind of bring that back home. Yeah. So they worked on people's emotions, and of course the whole thing with Bush v. Gore in 2000, you know, with the whole hanging Chad mess down in Florida, that kind of reignited. So ever since then, they constantly have figured out the only way we can keep black people on the plantation, we got to constantly reinvigorate those emotions so they can't think straight. Let me tell you something. I want you to remember this acronym. It's called HALT, H-A-L-T. You never make an important decision when you're angry, when you're too hungry, when you're too angry, when you're too lonely, or when you're too tired. You tell me every time you make a decision when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and tell me how many times those have been good decisions. Probably none. Okay, so the thing is, if you can remember that, you will not allow yourself to be manipulated by people who are working on your emotions to make you not be able to think rationally about making really important decisions. And when you're deciding who you're going to vote for, that's a really important decision. Not only because depending on who you're going to vote for, as far as the direction you're going to go, you're likely going to determine that I'm going to talk to some people that I know about this. Right now, I know a lot of people, you know, they did secret Trump voters. You know, I don't want to tell, especially if they're minorities, but trust me, you're going to get out. You're going to grow out of that. Okay, at some point, if you keep on coming in the right direction, you're going to get to the point where you're going to have enough of that foolishness. You're going to talk to somebody. You're going to realize that you're not alone, because you're not. Trust me, there's a whole bunch of us out here. And this is part of the reason why we do this, to help you understand that we are a lot of people. We're just spread out, okay? Because we're spread out, it seems like we're only a few. But the thing is, you put us all in one place and you see how many of us it really is. So the point is, don't be manipulated by these things. And also, this is the number one thing you got to keep in mind. If you're a Christian, or if you're thinking about being one, I encourage you to do so. If you're thinking about being a Christian, or if you are a Christian, or if you're a church-going person, whatever you call yourself, but you lean in that direction, consider what the Word of God has to say about these decisions you're going to make, okay? Because it's really important, especially if you have children, if you have a wife or somebody you care about. You know, these policies we're talking about, these people put policy into place that actually destroy families. And we're not talking about just from a fiscal standpoint. We're talking about they destroy the families because they come against the order of the way things are supposed to be. Look, there's a divine order, the way things are supposed to work. That divine order says man is supposed to be at the head. The woman is supposed to follow the man. And I know you sound like a chauvinist. You call God a chauvinist, whatever you want, but this is just reality. I'm talking what the Word of God says here. And this is the divine order, the way things are supposed to work. The woman is supposed to follow the man, but you got to provide the leadership. And then the man and the woman together are supposed to teach the children how they're supposed to work, right? And if you can get that going and get that right, trust me, your household alone will be the model for what it's supposed to look like, maybe in your entire neighborhood. And then you start from there. Tony Evans said, and I give him credit for this. He said, you take care of the house, you will build the neighborhood. You build the neighborhood, you affect the city. You affect the city, you build the state, and from the state, you affect the nation, and that's how you affect the world. And it goes out from there. You got to think about it like that. One little unit. Okay, you take care of your unit, and you'll be amazing what you can do outside of that.
Well, that's why there's been such an attack on the family, because I mean, the spiritual darkness and wickedness knows that. I mean, if you look at everything that's an anathema to God's word, it's the spiritual darkness that goes out and does just the opposite. God says marriage is man and woman. That's right. They're going to take that and say, no, we'll figure a way to screw that up. God in where there has been attacks that God okayed because it was through Joseph, it was a flat tax of 20%. You don't see a flat tax of 20% when you know God says as on earth as it is in heaven, right? In heaven there is a wall around heaven. You are to protect them. God protects His borders. We are to protect our borders. So God has laid it out for us. If we think inside what the Bible says, instead of trying to appease the world says, well, we don't know. I mean, these scientists say they don't know when life begins. Well, God, when maybe until, and that's getting further and further till
you just faded out, bro.
Content of that abortion law. And so when he said, but what I find out, whenever there's a new Supreme Court justice opening, the first thing they go to is that they've got to protect abortion rights. As if that's the only thing that's important. You know, yeah, I'll use Joe Biden. You're sitting at the dining room table and you don't have any. You don't know another state has the right to choose an abortion. You'd rather be able to feed your family, pay for that spare tire that he was talking about the other night. There's so many more other talk about, but that is always the first one that they go to, and there's spiritual darkness behind that because if you look, Moses, they were killing the baby.
Right.
We're killing babies, and there'll be states that I think that it should be wiped out throughout the country, but certain states will allow it because I think this Supreme Court would push it down to make it a state issue. I think right now that it in a lot of states you would not have it, but in obviously all the blue states you'd have it. So we need to get away from again the individual. We need to look at the policies that are most important. And I think what Trump has done is that he's taken everything back to a more conservative approach. And there are people on both sides, deep state, Democrats, and never Trump or Republicans that fight against him. But if the evangelicals and the conservatives truly rise up, we'll win this thing again, and we'll be set for a long time. I truly believe.
It's good.
Absolutely.
You like you had something on your mind, Eugene. I can always tell by your face.
No, actually, I think Greg made a really good point. I guess the only thing I would say, in addition to what I've already said, is that regarding the reason why we find ourselves in this place, a lot of times, getting back to this whole emotional thing, is the fact that the church leaders, what I noticed in the late 80s, and it might have been earlier than that, but that's when I noticed it, they began to compromise on the beliefs that they had held. I'm talking the Black church had held true for so long. Now, this had nothing to do, in my opinion, with politics. This had more to do with culture and the fact that they were trying to, I guess, make an appeal to the culture, and so they started to kind of lower their standards as far as what they considered to be, what they always really leaned on is these are the right things to do, these are wrong things to do, and initially, quite honestly, I wasn't saved at that time. It seemed like a kind of a good idea, but then looking back after several years, before I even got saved, I started not liking what I was seeing. Definitely when I got saved and realized the way things were supposed to be, I really, was opposed to it. But I think that the leaders have negated their responsibility and they sold themselves out to politics. And so now we have spiritual leaders, so-called, who many times take more of a political position on issues rather than a spiritual issue. Because the bottom line is, if you try to take the righteous path, it's only going to lead you in one direction. And regardless of what you want to believe, it's not going to lead you to Democrat policies. Okay. And forget the party, you will not be led to Democrat policies. The Bible does not condone communism. The Bible does not condone. The Bible talks about looking out for the poor, but it says the church is supposed to look after the poor, not the government. Okay, so what you need to do is get with your church leaders, and y'all come up with a way to take care of your communities, and then see, because with that is going to come. It's not going to just be freebie. It's going to be something that's going to probably be free, but it's going to be free with accountability. See, the government doesn't require an accountability. It requires you to just follow a certain set of procedures, right? Because the government can't actually, deal with that spiritual aspect of it, not in a good way. So that's something to take into consideration. So I just say that for those who are curious or consider yourself to be Christian, study your Bible. Study it. Don't just read it, but just spend a little time studying some stuff, get some understanding about some of the principles that's taught in Scripture. I would say if you just want to get understanding of principles, just read through the book of Proverbs. That's going to help you get the basics down. And it's a lot of things you're going to find they're going to be repetitive, and it's repetitive for a reason, because we are leaky vessels. The Bible describes us as, we need reiteration, we need repetition. That's why I say, when I watch the video for the second time, I'm able to start to retain. I watch it for the third time and start to really get locked in. I watched for the fourth time, I pretty much got it down. And that's something I learned. I learned that by accident. Years ago, when I used to want to learn things, I learned that if I listen, not watch, but mostly listen to information over a period of time for 3 or 4 or 5 times, by the fourth or fifth time, I got it down. So, that's why a lot of people give me books to read. I'm like, look, as much as I love to read books, I don't spend enough time reading the book I need to read, which is the Bible. So, when I get a chance to read a book that is biblically related, then chances are I'll spend some time reading it. But just to read the book so, if it's got some really good information, I'll go with it. But I'm not into all these books. So and so wrote this book. If the book is too thick, it's something I can't go through in a matter of a day or two, look, man, send it to me on video.
That's good.
Oh boy.
That's good. That's good. I know we ran way over our time, but this was definitely good, guys. And so we had a bunch of comments from the one liberal guy over on Facebook, and so we'll figure out a way to he'd like to do a debate with Eugene and Dr. Mitchell.
Okay.
He said he needs to set you guys straight.
You gonna set us straight? Well, I love to give him the opportunity to set me straight.
Yeah, so we want to give him that opportunity. Look at Dr. Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell go hard.
Dr. Mitchell
No, I just don't.
I just all day in the class.
I'm on the other side of time. I know that with these young people, whatever you want to be, it's cool. I already voted. I ain't trying to turn them none. I don't care.
Right.
We'll see at the voting polls, and we'll see what all happen. And if if you want to come in and sit in my class and pay to sit in my class, you can come on. But other than that, I'll see him at the poll spot. I yield to Eugene. You don't believe what you want to believe, man. Different folks for different strokes for different folks. I'm gonna stand where I'm staying.
That's it. That's it. Because we've been down that road, and they think they know what they don't know. Like my favorite. Y'all know my favorite quote. Ronald Reagan, 1964. The problem with liberals is that they know so much that just isn't so. And that's a fact.
Yeah, that's true.
They know everything, but they don't know anything. And the stuff that they know is nothing.
Right.
It's not even true. It's just what they think they know.
I'm just sure I can show you better than I can tell you.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's going November 4th, we're going to have liberals crying all over you. I'm going to have a whole bunch of Kleenex, and I'm going to be out there selling them a square of Kleenex for $20. I might as well make some money off of, because that's what they're going to be doing, walking down.
Man, what you do is just sell them a Kleenex and give them a Trump t-shirt.
There you go. Kleenex and a Trump t-shirt. There you go. I love it. I love it.
A Trump flag.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll schedule something so him and Eugene can do their thing, and I know Eugene got something for him, so I ain't worried about it. Look, Greg, like, yeah. So,
but and you ought to do it. You ought to do it by topic. Just don't let them just ramble on and on.
Yeah,
what about this? What about that? Because that's
so
how they get lost in the maze.
Yeah, I'm going to take it just like they did with the debate last night. And so what I'll do is I'll break out a format, and we'll break out each one of those topics that they used in the debate, because this is what he's commenting on from our debate last night. And so we'll break it out topic by topic, and we'll let it go.
That sounds like a winner. Like a winner.
But yeah, like I say, I appreciate you guys' time.
I may peek in, Troy. Going on, I just might, yeah, you might want, to keep that link on. I may just peek in and hear what he talking about. Just sit and watch. I might just want to sit and watch.
Yeah, and
just watch a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do it debate style. I might even let Greg be the moderator.
He ain't got no job. He ain't got no degree. Yeah, I ain't got no time. I mean, you got to have more than just a bachelor's degree, and you got to have a better job than working over there at Sweet Willie's Bistro.
Boy, you're a mess.
Because he need to be at work. I ain't trying to break down this generation. I'm trying to push forward so they can go and do something. All that talking, that's just talking.
Right, and they're saying they don't realize that we do this to help them.
Yeah.
We do this to help. We take out of our time to help them get an understanding, to know what's really going on. Because the media that they watch, CNN and all them alphabets, they're not giving you the truth.
No.
And so we take up our time. We're hardworking guys. We got businesses. We got homes. We got all kind of stuff that we're doing, being productive. And so we do this because we want to see you live the same vicarious, productive life.
Right.
And you're not living that if you're living the liberal dream.
That's right.
Because the liberal dream is to sit home and wait on somebody else to give you something.
It's
and
amazing.
to tell you that, yeah, I know you got a wife and kids, so we only going to give you a 600 square foot home because it's just you, your wife, and 3 kids. The devil is a lie. If I go to work and I work hard, I can buy whatever I want to buy, whatever size house I want to buy. If it's me by myself, and it is right now, I can live in whatever size house I want to live in.
Yeah.
If I want to live in a 10,000 square foot home by myself, and I can afford it, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's right. Just get your little moped so you ride around there.
Right.
like Neon Dion, right?
Yeah, take the scooter around the house, But that's my right as an American.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the great privilege of being an American.
That's right.
I can do what I want to do, say what I want to say, be who I want to be, and I don't have to care what you think about it.
That's right. And you don't have to join the army.
Exactly. And so all of us, we're all successful. We got degrees, but the degrees don't matter to us.
Right, that's right.
Because our success is not predicated upon our degrees. Our successes are built by us putting our hands to the plow and actually getting involved and learning stuff for real. Not what we read in a book, but what we know, what we sacrifice to know.
That's right.
That's what's made us who we are as conservative Black men.
That's right.
That's why we do what we do, because we don't want to see you fall by the wayside.
That's right. That's right.
So, but thank all of you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you, Greg, for your time. Thank you, Eugene, for your time. Thank you, Professor Geoffrey R. Mitchell, PhD, for your time, my brother. Because I know it's midterms and you upgrading papers and all that good stuff. More power to you. Just go ahead and pass them all, brother. Just pass them all. I know you.
Hey man, you're trying to tempt a man to promote liberalism, man.
Yeah, they're supposed to get a certificate for a participation.
No,
they turned in the paper. That's supposed to be okay. You ain't got to read it to know what it actually is saying.
They get a participation trophy, they probably can't even read it.
Right. Exactly.
They be hard on the brother, man. They my praise them. They be taking in there thinking they're gonna come out with a straight A. And man, I put up in and they missed a C. Now I'm a little bit different than what I used to be. And so I've failed a lot of students, not because they didn't earn it, but because of the fact that Some of them just their education system was not fortunate to come into academia, and that's where they do the transition in you. But I bought into saying, if you fail, I fail. So I at least get into the D.
Right.
I can at least get you, at least you pass. You just can't transfer it, but at least I can get you to pass.
Right.
You ain't gonna fail.
Transfer.
But I will get you at least to the D.
Wow.
There you go. There you go. Well, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate
you.
everybody that's watching on all the various platforms. I thank you guys for staying tuned in and staying with us this evening and getting this information. Please feel free to continue to share this, continue to like it, enter your comments. We are here to help you.
Amen.
We don't need to know this. We know it. That's why we're here sharing it with you.
That's right.
The Bible says my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
That's right.
We are here to give you the knowledge that you are not getting anywhere else. That's what we want to do. We want to help you. Thank you for letting us help you. God bless you guys, and God bless the United States of America. God bless Donald Trump, and God bless Texas. We love you guys, and we will catch you guys next time on Courageous Conservatism, and we will get Ernest Hargraves over there on Facebook. If you can inbox me your email address, I will schedule this deal so you can get on here and do what you think you're going to be able to do, because I'm here to tell you, brother, with any of us, you're not going to be able to do what you think you're going to be able to do. So
but it'll be fun.
Yes,
We'll have some fun anyway.
It will be fun. So go ahead, inbox me your email address, and I'll get you set up, brother. All right. God bless you guys.